Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host, and I'm joined by the film encyclopedia man, Boaz Dix. We are a couple of filmmakers on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode we pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on VOD. Myself and Boaz pick our favourite film from that topic, or team up against a guest and battle it out to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Please enjoy part 2. Right. Our pick then is Dawn of the Dead for Threequel films. Yes, it's the third one in the George Romero Dead trilogy and our third 80s horror film in a row. Do check out our other ones on like The Thing and Fright Night. They were a lot of fun.
Fright Night. That was a great film. I love that.
Yes. You must know our process now. Like, I send Boaz a list of films and Boaz picks the one usually he hasn't seen. And this is very much the case as well. I hadn't seen this one either. I'd seen the first two, Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead, two great films. I would say this is probably my favorite, to be honest, Day of the Dead. I think it's really, really good. The other ones I had on the list were, David, you mentioned already, Return of the Jedi. I do like that one a lot. And also, it's the 40th anniversary of that film as well.
It is indeed.
It is. And the other one we very much like is Die Hard with a Vengeance. Ooh, I do really like that one.
That is a good one.
Some great classic moments with Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. We are Samuel L. Jackson fans for sure.
And I'll add a hat trick to that. I do love him. Great guy.
Yeah.
It's one bad motherfucker.
So, what happens in this one then, Boaz?
So, there's obviously a zombie infestation that's, taken over the world. But the main woman is a scientist. And Sarah, there we go. So, Sarah, she's a scientist. She works with a bunch of other scientists. And what's left of the military, they're doing experiments on zombies to try and make them... Well, to try and neutralize the threat. They're everywhere. They've taken over everything. Almost nobody's alive. So, they need to, somehow do anything about this. So the government has funded a cadre of scientists to sort of work out how to solve this problem. And so they take zombies, the army picks them up. They do experiments on them. Her boyfriend is also in the army, but he's basically got PTSD. Like he's
Miguel.
Yeah, so Miguel, he's just wigging out. The army guys don't like him, and they don't like any of the scientists either. The head of the army that are just, essentially they've got to do what the scientists say.
Rhodes. Yeah,
Rhodes. He does not like this, what they're doing at all. He thinks it's a waste of time. He's very anti-intellectual. He fucking hates this whole situation. And he comes across as just an incredibly wicked and paranoid lunatic, So meanwhile, the head scientist, Frankenstein, he's actually trying to make them docile so that they can listen to commands. He's like training them like dogs. And he has this one particular zombie.
Bub,
yeah. Who he still remembers some of his human life, and he's... Could you actually stop right there? Because I'm nearly burning something, so I can actually smell it burning. So,
all right.
Yeah,
okay.
First time for everything.
I was like, I don't remember this in the movie. Something burning.
I was like, can we just stop a second? I was like, oh, he's going method. He's doing a quote.
Sorry, please excuse me.
That's all right.
We were just saying how we don't remember that part of the movie where something was burning.
He was burning something?
Like, I don't remember a fire in this film.
Had something in the oven?
Bub learned to cook.
That's an smart zombie.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so anyway, fast forward. Miguel gets bitten and gets his hand cut off to stop the infection. He's, left out... out of the barracks. They also find out that Frankenstein has been feeding the zombies like dead military guys. So the military kind of lose their shit and shoot Frankenstein and decide to just like do away with this whole science bullshit, and kill the rest of them and just leave. Miguel releases all the zombies. He opens up the perimeter and releases all the zombies. Basically, everybody dies except for just a few of the scientists who get on the helicopter and make it to a nice deserted island.
Frankenstein is called Logan, by the way. That's what the military guys call him. Frankenstein as a nickname.
Yeah, it's more of a nickname, isn't it? Because he's like they associate him with obviously a dead zombie,
Dr. Frankenstein.
Mad science experiments and like putting the dead back to life.
So, David, what did you make of this one then? Initial reactions? Are you a horror guy?
I am and I'm not. So I am and I'm also not. So like I've only really probably within the last maybe year and a half maybe got properly into horror. Like I've always been into like the classics, like the John Carpenter stuff, like The Thing, which you guys covered brilliantly on your episode, and also the likes of Halloween, the Friday the 13th saga, the Nightmare on Elm Street films, all those old classics from the 80s, 70s, those kind of things, slashers in general. I do love those. Only recently I'd started getting into more horror, like strangely, very much like you, Martin, I've actually only ever really seen, up until this moment, the first two films. Never seen this one. Like, I knew it existed, but I'd never watched it. So I do enjoy a bit of horror. Like, I'm not too squeamish, so I don't mind seeing the odd bit of blood and guts here and there when needed.
It gets pretty intense in the end.
Oh, God, yes, so intense at the end. No, but my initial reactions to this film, having only watched it once, and this being the only time, I enjoyed it, but like, and when Boaz was describing the plot and everything, like, it made me realize, everybody's dead by the end, apart from a few people. It's basically it's the same problem we have with Back to the Future. The Back to the Future films, it's pretty much the same sort of effect you get in the first one, because, majority of the characters are dead, or at least, most of them are out of the window by the end of the film, apart from, like, the army guys, who are actually the undoing of a couple of the characters. I liked it from the visual perspective in terms of, like, the prosthetics and the makeup.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, I did. Yeah. I really like that, because that's the one thing. Night of the Living Dead is really low budget. It's George A. Romero at his like his beginnings, his origins. It's it's good, but it's not like state of the art at the same time. Even this isn't state of the art. But I just love. I don't know. I love the look of the zombies in this one compared to some of the other ones. I mean, Dawn of the Dead. Actually, to be fair, I think I'd rate as like the highest one, but I think the zombies in this and some of the visual effects that they did, the practical effects, were really good in this one. Like, it sounds really obvious to say, mainly because this is the only time I've ever watched this film, but I do love the bit which is in the trailers, which involves a certain part of a zombie, but we'll get back to that later because we'll discuss like scenes and such. But initially I thought it was quite, it was decent. It wasn't bad. It's very much, people against the apocalypse kind of thing. And it's not my favourite one by any means. I think Dawn of the Dead still has it for me there. And I still have a bit of love for Night of the Living Dead. But this one, it definitely holds its weight, I think, compared to its, predecessors, I think. So, but like Boaz says, very intense by the end.
Yeah.
Boaz, initial reactions?
Yeah, I did like it, but again, I'm more like, the visuals and the production design and the directing. I think that's I think on that sort of aspect, how the zombies are designed, like many of the kills, a lot of the action, it's just, and the ending, it's like, whoa, fuck me, it's quite intense. Yeah, and just how the zombies act, just all of that, and the animatronics and the costumes, I really like that. I think my main problem is kind of the plot. So it's not that I dislike the plot. It's just it feels lacking. It feels like it's lacking some substance. It really just feels like that for me.
Wow.
It feels like it's lacking something. I don't think I really kind of connected with many of the characters. Yeah, so I don't know. I think that was kind of my big gripe with it. That a lot of cool things happen, and there are a lot of interesting characters. But yeah, it just didn't fully satisfy me, I don't think, on the plot front. I don't think I really gelled with anybody.
I think I'm like the opposite.
Yeah.
Really. I think there's an awful lot of subtext going on here in this film. And I feel like with Romero, with his Dead trilogy, he doesn't make a zombie film because he wants to make one. He wants to make one because he wants to say something.
Yeah, no, sure. And I definitely feel there's representation going on, and you know there is deeper meanings. You could talk about like society, religion, and there are kind of, I think, like subtle and some on the nose, like real allusions to, you know, how, you know, you're meant to live, or how society wants you to live, and how these zombies are, and even that these fact that the zombies, even though they're like horrible meat-eating monsters, they're somewhat human. They actually feel, they think, you know, and some very interesting ethical questions as well. So I do kind of get that, but I just feel that it had great subtext, it has interesting characters, but I just didn't really connect with any of the characters. Do you kind of get what I mean? It feels like the metaphor is stronger than like me actually giving a shit about them. Do you know what I mean? So
I don't really agree with that.
No, I mean, that's fine, but I'm just going, this is my personal thing.
I did really connect with Sarah, and John is such a fascinating character as well. We'll get into that in screenplay, but as I was saying, like George Romero kind of makes a zombie film when he wants to say something about, you know, society or whatever, you know, because the first one's in the 60s, Dawn of the Dead 70s, and this one's in the middle of the 80s. So, you know, this is massively spread out. Like the first one, Night of the Living Dead, is a commentary on race. Like right at the end, the guy, the police officer thinks he sees a zombie, but it's a black guy. He just shoots the black guy at the end. You know, spoilers. Dawn of the Dead is very much a consumerist commentary on that. Like, we're all zombies in a supermarket, really. And I think that's the strongest social commentary in all of the trilogy. And in this one, it's kind of about like military experimentation and how far do we go with, like, you know, bioweapons and things like that. And
like lab rats and all that sort of stuff, treating them as they're not human. We can experiment on them for the betterment of mankind. But, you know, these things are actually thinking.
Yeah, so I really like this film from the social commentary point of view, and all the subtext. I really like it. And the characters are really interesting, especially John, and there is some humor in there, and the gore is pretty fucking gory.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like one guy's death kind of freaked me out. It's like it's really sort of burrowed into my head. Actually, many of them were so over the top, insane. I wasn't really expecting that. That was pretty crazy.
Directing then, that jump scare at the start makes me jump every time, even when I'm prepared for it. It's such a great, like, simple opening scene where Laurie Carrillo is in a plain room which seems to have like no windows, no doors, but just with like a calendar on the wall, and all she does is like walk up to the calendar, and there's like lots of shots going back and forth to Sarah and the calendar, then a wide shot as she's touching the calendar, and it seems like Romero has been on this shot for too long. Then boom, the hands come through the wall, which you don't expect at all because it's a wall. So I was like, my God, that was such a brilliant jump scare to start off.
I actually think a lot of her dream scenes are really awesome. I think even the one like after she's seen the guts fall out of that zombie, and then she sees Miguel and he turns over and his guts fall on the floor, and you're like, holy shit.
That was great.
The practical effects, and one of the first zombies, and where you see like the title card, and the fucking zombie has no jaw. It's missing a jaw. Yeah. You're like, oh my God, that looks so good.
Is that the bit where she's like, where Sarah, she's walking around and then it's behind her, it's in the, is that bit, or is that a different bit?
It's near the beginning. Yeah.
It's near the beginning. It's like, when they touch down and, they're calling out and, there's always zombie. And you just get that one zombie and then the title card where it's like, it's missing its fucking jaw. That looks incredible. It looks so good.
It is really cool.
Yeah. And you're like, how did they do that? Because, obviously that wasn't... Like, nowadays, you green screen the bottom of his jaw.
The mouth out, yeah.
Yeah. But it really just does look like he's missing his entire goddamn jaw, That looks
cool.
So good. Yeah, it looks so fucking horrible.
You have to wait a while for some zombie eating action, but when it comes, it's brief, but still very cool when Miguel loses one of the zombies in the corral, and the zombie bites one of the soldiers in the neck, and there's plenty of blood, and the skin looks like it's really stretchy, like cheese.
Yeah.
The 80s do that a lot, don't they? Like with practical effects, they make skin look so thin and stringy. It's like Raiders of the Lost Ark when they melt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
And when Miguel gets bit and he runs away, and there's no hesitation from Sarah at all when he cuts his arm off, there's like no suspense at all. He just chop.
Nope.
And there's a bit where she has to push the blade right through.
Yeah, where she pushes it through.
It was odd, but cool at the same time.
And then she's got to push it away from the, like it feels like effort. Yeah. I quite like that because like in, what that reminded me of was, World War Z.
Or just cutting cheese, frankly. Just like...
Yeah, but like in World War Z, a similar thing happens where somebody bites a friend of Brad Pitt and he chops off the arm. And in that, it's so like, you can chop off an arm, and chopping off an arm is easy. And I like how in this, which probably they got inspiration from this, it's like, no, chopping off an arm isn't easy. It's fucking disgusting, And, yeah, that really made me go, oh my God.
But for me, it was just like Romero just goes straight into it. There's no like build up or anything, suspense, like taking a moment to prepare herself to do it. Nope, she's just chopping it right there. I'm like, oh, okay, she's doing that.
Yeah, and it's nasty. It's really, really nasty. And it takes effort, And then she cauterizes it.
Yes.
I think realistically there probably would have been like a lot more blood. Like, I don't think he would have survived, but
No. Romero does bring a little bit of humor in his action in this film. Where like near the end when Sarah and McDermott are trapped in the mines, they get attacked by zombies. Like McDermott cuts a zombie's head off through the mouth with a spade, and and when they're running away, you see half the zombie's head upside down, like shifting its eyes.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I found that was quite funny. There's not many like moments of humor in this film, but that was a really funny one for me.
Yeah, I think one of the most unnerving things is where you first meet, Logan / Frankenstein, and all the zombies he's experimenting on.
Yeah.
And they're like, their stomachs are open and, their heads are open. And that one, which is just a brain stem, like that is fucking horrible.
So you don't get that nowadays, do you? In like horror films, you don't like you might get something similar, but it'll either be CGI'd or it will just be really like, I don't know, really rubbish practical. Whereas like this is so like, I was watching this and I was just thinking like, bloody hell, this is like real. This is like, it looks so realistic. Like, I don't like, and even the dreams, like you were mentioning the dream sequences earlier, like it goes back to like, because I love well, not all of them. I have gripes with some of them, but the Nightmare on Elm Street series, particularly the first and the third one, especially the third one for its dream sequences and the third one, that's kind of what I was thinking of, like in terms of the level of practical effects. That's what I felt like it was like. So like, I'm pretty sure actually, I can't remember the actual time. I might be getting my dates wrong, but they're around about a similar time, aren't they? Because this is 1985. Is it 85? This one is, isn't it? 1985, Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, Day of the Dead. And I'm pretty sure that the third Nightmare on Elm Street is not too far from this. So like, it's similar skills and effects are being used, like in terms of like the aptitude of how they would bring this landish, crazy, realistic zombie to life. But I believed it. Like, that's the one thing I take away from this film. I watched it and like, I'm watching Sarah walking around. Like, it's the shot I was on about earlier where she was like walking around and then there's this zombie in the shadow and it just looks so bloody real. Like, I'm just like, what the hell is this? Like, you do it now. You can tell people have made zombies up. They've just post Shaun of the Dead. I think they stick some grey makeup on them, put a bit of fake blood, probably CGI blood on that, and they think it's all right. Whereas this, I believed that zombie was coming for me through that screen. I was going to run. Like, it was that creepy. And the brain bit, that was just,
Yeah, and you feel like they've put an actor in there as well somehow, like hidden his head when Logan puts an electric current through the core of the brainstem.
Oh, God, yeah.
And he just, like, puts his hand up.
Yeah. Like, the body does move incredibly realistically, Yeah, absolutely.
That was great.
And and the one later where it's just a severed head and its eyes are darting around, and it looks that was so. Yeah, there's a lot of really fucked up shit in this one.
Yeah, there's something quite off about that as well. The fact that like kind of the eyelid is coming off as well. It looked very freaky.
It was very freaky.
I think one of the kills that like really made my my blood turn to ice, and I was like, Jesus, I hope I never die like that. That's fucking horrible. It's that guy who's getting pulled apart and his face gets pulled off.
Oh no!
Like his head is going, and then it's oh my god.
Yeah.
Is that from the eyelid?
You see what I'm talking about? It's you're like, oh, that's it. Yeah. Actually, no, that was a second one where they're pulling the guy's eyelid. Yeah. It's like, oh my god, it's full on. Well, I can understand that other guy that shot himself in the face. I'm like, man.
Yeah. I think one that I didn't find that great was when like they pull his head off, but it felt like there wasn't much force when they were pulling his head off.
I do agree with that.
It just feels like they're just slightly pulling it.
They feel like they slightly pulled it, and it just came off.
With no strength at all.
Yeah. I think the tear itself looked good. I think the tear but the fact that they're putting no effort to just take off limbs.
It's that classic thing of they didn't do what they would do back in like 70s television in like the UK, where like if you watch like old fashioned, like I don't know, if you watch like a Blake Seven or a 70s Doctor Who or something, where they have like polystyrene, which is clearly the lightest thing ever, fall onto them, but they've got to pretend that it's the heaviest thing ever. Yeah. Whereas in this case, it should have been a little bit more strained to pull it off. But no,
I think they should have tugged a lot more. Yeah, they should have been like really, really put their strength.
Get it off, and no, they just went straight for the pull and it came straight off. I mean, maybe the flesh was weak.
They didn't have much nourishment down there in that bunker, I guess.
I was going to say, and also they're zombies. They've been decapitated, degraded.
Maybe they got super strength and stuff.
Yeah. But I think what could have helped with this, which I find interesting, that Romero doesn't go into it too much, is like the sound mixing. There's not a massive like sound effect design here. I would have felt that like that could have helped with that scene in particular, with that effect in particular. They kind of go for more of the gore stuff.
Yeah.
The groaning with the sound mix in those kills with the victim and the zombies themselves, not actually like flesh and bone being torn. You don't really hear much like that.
Oh yeah, okay, I get what you mean. So not you don't hear much squelching or cracking of bone or anything like that. There are no like body noises.
It doesn't help with that scene. No.
I do kind of agree with you. If they added to the sort of sound design of what that would have made it twice as intense. I probably wouldn't have been able to actually watch it. I think that I'd lose my lunch.
I liked Romero's use of the dream scenes, as you kind of said. The dream fake-out scenes, I like to call them. You have the one right at the start, of course, and you have the one that you mentioned, Boaz, with Miguel. But this use of like directing is Sarah's narrative in showing us how her struggles being down here in this bunker are, whereas everyone else, it's more with their acting. But my favorite fake out is at the end when a zombie comes out to grab Sarah at the helicopter, then jump cut to her waking up on a desert island, safe and sound. Plus, it's brilliantly effective storytelling without Romero trying to get more money to have like another flying helicopter scene. I thought that was so good.
Yeah,
that jump cut especially. Because they're all pretty insane, these characters. They're all kind of very unhinged from this situation, being stuck down this place. And with her, you do have a bit of acting from her in that sense with that kind of storytelling. But like the nightmare stuff, you get that a lot with the directing for Sarah's character in particular. I really love that from Romero.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
Favorite shots or scenes, David?
Favorite shots or scenes? I mean, I have two that stand out to me the most.
Sure.
One we've already mentioned. It's the one where the arms are coming out of the wall after Sarah. That one stands out the most. But the one, I think my absolute favourite, and I was touching on this just a little bit earlier, and I said we come back to it, and it's the one, they use it in the trailer, so it was obviously one that they thought, better use that one, that'll grab people in. But it's probably the more iconic image, I'd say, from this film, and that is it's arms again,
Yeah, Rhodes, Def.
Yeah, Rhodes. That's it. It is Rhodes. I was going to say I can't remember his name, but yeah, Rhodes. So where the arms are literally, you can just imagine you got like these actors with just their arms painted and like made up and everything, coming out from behind the camera, reaching out into like up to Rhodes. Like I just think, I've always thought whenever like I studied film when I was like at uni, and when I was younger, I looked at films in a different way to most people would, like we do as a thing as well. And you look at it, and the one thing I remember being taught was a good shot is something that you can just freeze frame, and it would make a great poster on your wall. For me personally, that shot of the arms coming out from behind the camera and reaching out to a terrified Rhodes is personally like, I mean, I'm not going to, but I would happily.
I would.
If I was that much inclined, I'd put it up on my wall. But it literally, it's such a good shot, and it adds to that, that nightmarish fuel of the scene itself is just intense and beyond like creepy. But I think as a shot and a piece of truly brilliant filmmaking and great composition based artistry, I think that's a brilliant shot. It's really like it uses the practical effects, the correct framing. It genuinely is so it's something that sticks out to me. Like, I'm not saying I hate this film. It's not, it's not something that I would say, oh, yeah, I'd never watch it again. But personally, for me, the practical effects and the way it's shot and the visuals and how it was framed and everything, that sticks out to me as why this film was good and is good still to to a lot of people who do like this film and actually enjoy it a lot. For me, really, I'm just into the visuals, like not so much the story. So that's why shots like that, where the zombies, where the practical effects are showcased in such a way, that is the bits that I value the most of this film. But yeah, the shot of Rhodes being attacked by the arms, that is my favourite.
Yeah, that's my favorite as well. Like it's the fact that the hands are coming from every angle, like the top of the frame as well, the bottom, the sides, every angle. It's such a great reverse shot onto Rhodes's face. And it's a great like final moment for Bub as well, when he kind of shoots Rhodes in the chest, and then the Horde gets Rhodes and rips his legs off.
What a great way to go.
Yeah. Also, one of my favorite lines, actually, if we're when we go into scripts, but choke on it. If I'm going to die, I would like to say something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a great triumphant moment for Bub as well. Boaz's favorite shot or scene?
Maybe the severing of Miguel's arm. That was pretty intense. Or I would say another thing that is kind of hilarious that I think you could put on a poster. So I would say two shots. One, as I said, where the title card and the kind of sort of lower angle with the the zombie without a jaw. I mean, that's a hell of a way to start a movie. And also the one you just said about the halved head of the zombie, and then they're running off in the distance, and you've just got it.
That's great.
I think you could definitely have a poster with that as well. Them in the distance, and this thing with its eyes just looking at the camera.
I would definitely have both those posters on my wall right now. Definitely.
Yeah, so I think that's a great shot. I'm going to go with the half head one because I think that's a great poster shot as well. Cool. Actually.
Directing score for Day of the Dead, David? What are you going for?
I would say, you see, if I'm just going to base this on the visuals alone, and just the way it has been presented, I would rate it around, I think overall direction, maybe like an 8.4. 8.4 maybe. Because it looks good. Cool. It does look good, and some of the characters are quite interesting, but we'll get back onto that in a minute with the acting side. But I think overall, it's a well-crafted, it's a George A. Romero, it's a Romero piece. Like, I respect that. And, there is improvements from when he started out in 1968 with the first film. But, it's in colour for one. It's, got the different practical, it's got more practical effects, like, because you think about the first one basically is just people made up in makeup, and it's just creepy because it's in black and white. So anything in monochrome is going to have that eerie effect. But yeah, I'd say a solid, I'd say 8.4, I'd say for direction overall. I think.
Boaz, what should we go for? I really like this film.
I was thinking an 8.8 or
yeah.
I mean,
the kills are really well staged, and there's definitely some real skill in what Romero is doing, especially with Sarah's character, with the dream scene fake outs. I really, really like that. It's really efficient, really effective.
I think they're probably some of my... I wouldn't say they're my favorite dream scares, but they're definitely up there. Especially like I always think when I think of dream scares, I think, have you ever watched Jurassic Park 3?
Yes.
Unfortunately, yes.
The worst dream scare. I always compare it to that whenever I see a dream scare. I always think of Jurassic Park 3. Well, because that's like the way you don't do it.
What, because it's bad?
That's the worst one.
Yeah.
Where nobody's in the plane and there's a velociraptor sat down. It's like, Alan! Yeah, do you remember that? That was so stupid.
That was so bad.
That was so bad. Yeah, it's a lot better than that.
That's the benchmark. We got to rate everything by now. Jurassic Park 3, the Velociraptor.
Yeah, Velociraptor scare, and if it's better than that, then it's doing fine.
8.9 then.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think from a purely visual, how it's blocked and how it's shot and everything. And and then you're talking about the prosthetics and all that other stuff. I mean, yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Screenplay then. I really enjoyed the meeting scene between the soldiers and the scientists. Like, the tension is as high as it can get. Like, any wrong move and you're dead from Rhodes. Like, he almost gets Steele to kill Sarah.
Yeah.
But then what's interesting is when Logan, the chief scientist, arrives late, when he talks Rhodes down quite easily by basically telling him that you need to change their behavior to get out. You can't fight your way out. There's just too many zombies. Like, Rhodes gives in a little bit by saying you have some time left, but I need to see results. But what's really interesting is that the scene finishes on John Terry Alexander's character, John, smiling. And he hasn't said a word in the scene, and you're like, he's up to something. Then when Sarah talks to John in this like makeshift Ritz place, he's basically saying he should enjoy ourselves while we still can. God is punishing us, and ends by saying maybe he figure we was going too big for our britches, trying to figure this shit out. But John has kind of given up. He just wants to have a good time. He's trying to talk Sarah out of curing these zombies. That's her end goal at this point in the film. And at least Rhodes just wants to like look after his men and survive. So I ended up hating John at that moment, as well as his Jamaican accent.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad Jamaican accent.
I think it's up there with the Sean Connery Hunt for Red October, I think, for me personally.
Yeah, I thought it was an atrocious Jamaican accent.
Yeah, because he is American, that guy.
Well, no shit.
Yeah.
I actually thought he was Jamaican. Yeah. He could have been Jamaican.
But did you like that kind of conflict between the scientists and the military guys?
I absolutely did. I like the conflict between the scientists and the military guys, and I like Rhodes. And that scene, I do agree with everything you're saying, and definitely the threat level where he's like, we're not done, sit back down, and then she's, go fuck yourself. But he's like, shoot her, and even the army guys thinks he's taking the piss, and he's like, oh yeah, bang, you're dead. And he like draws his gun. So you're like, holy fuck. And yeah, and when Frankenstein goes in and he's just like, where's, is there any dinner, any food and stuff? And you're like, how can you be nonchalant? This guy will fucking kill you. But so that whole scene was pretty good. And I agree with that.
I just find John really fascinating in that scene because he says nothing and he smiles at the end. And I was just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And I think I think why he's kind of a Jamaican in this film is kind of this just very like relaxed attitude he has to this situation, because he kind of is like accepting his fate a little bit. And I think why I hated John at that point in the film is because Romero gives you hope in the fact that Logan is working on a way to live with the zombies, but ultimately Logan gets literally riddled with bullets. So that's when the social commentary really comes through. Like, the military experimentation will never end well, even if their intentions are good. It's always going to be controversial. Like, Sarah is our main hero, but she is on Logan's side, but she wants to complete, the cure for zombies. And Logan's like, I'm not sure that's possible. So she ends up making up with John and realizes Logan's work is a futile operation. So I love how the film gives you like 3 points of view in this. One, the gun-ho military side of let's just mow the zombies down when we get a chance. Two, let's try and domesticate the zombies from Logan's character and live with them and have a chance at life in the real world. And there's John, the character that just accepts the world for what it is and survives how he can. Yeah. And you have all that, but Bub is like a likable zombie character that Logan has basically created. You want him to survive too. So for me, this film is very clever and very complex on what it's trying to say, and combining these 3 points of view. And I really didn't see this John character coming. I thought he was the glue that kind of held these storylines together. I thought it was a really fascinating piece of work from Romero.
I think overall, as like a screenplay, I think this film is very, it's like anything of its nature. Like you go back to even the previous two films in this trilogy. As a whole, this screenplay, you talk a lot about the subtext and what it actually means, what it's actually talking about, and really, we're looking at a very human story at the end of the day. It's got zombies in it, but at the end of the day, it's an analysis of what humans will do under pressure. And I think that is where the film does succeed, even though I would say that Dawn of the Dead is my favorite, Night of the Living Dead is my second, and this one is the bottom. But it's not because it doesn't do a good job and because it's not well written, because I think, although I probably connect a little bit more with like the likes of, and I don't know, I feel like I've invested more in the subtext of the previous two films. This film, I think it's the one that takes things right back down to basics and the raw, like you're isolating these characters not just because they're not zombies and they're trying to battle against the zombies, and it's a lot of internal conflict. Like you say, you got the military, you got the scientists, you've got them competing against each other to find a solution to ultimately move forward and move past this zombie apocalypse epidemic thing that is going on. And the fact that they're in such an enclosed space like an underground base, it's not even like you're trapped in a house. If you're trapped in a house, it's like you could still get out. Whereas if you're underground, it's that next level of being stuck. It's like the character of John. I feel like even though he's got the worst accent,
I like when he said we're basically in a tomb. I do like his philosophy.
Yes.
I think he had some. I think he had some great lines.
Did you hate him in that moment? Did you like fuck you?
No, I didn't hate him. I thought he's like a realist. He's like, dude, this doesn't fucking matter, He's like that because she's even complaining. You're not doing anything. You just like drink and smoke and shit. It's like, what the fuck do you want me to do? This is like, there's no point in any of this.
Yeah. In that moment, I do feel like he is giving up a little bit. He's just like, I don't care what the scientists or the military guys do. I'm just here to drink and fly the helicopter and do what they want and just survive where I can. But what's really, really fascinating is that you have a lot of those characters in apocalypse zombie films. I get that, but like with the Logan character and and Sarah, there's a way out here. This film is presenting you with a way out, conflicting with that. And I've never really seen that before much in films of this type. And I really found that very clever for me.
It's normally like a do or die, isn't it, really? It's like either it's us or them. Whereas this is, it's nice for a change, really, I suppose, that you get that shift in like there's two potential ways out then. It's not like, oh, we've got to shoot the zombies and then we'll get out, and then
or find some way to like make a virus that kills them or whatever. It's like the military want to kill them, she wants to cure them, and he wants mutual coexistence, which sounds crazy, but it seems like his point of view is actually working out, even though both other groups think he's absolutely out of his fucking mind.
I mean, secretly, I think he is Edgar Wright, and he wanted to. That's why we have Shaun of the Dead, particularly the ending.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
So I think one of my main problems with the film, I have a couple with like the script, but I think those are some really interesting ideas, but I don't feel like anything they've done actually solves anything. You know, like in the end, the place gets overrun and none of this matters. None of this matters.
Well, that's the whole point of what Romero is saying. That's the whole point.
No, but I would have, you know, I don't want to be like one of those guys, but I would have preferred a more hopeful ending, I think, you know.
Are you on Logan's side then? Are you on Logan's side, Boaz, in this film?
So here's kind of like the complicated thing. Logan is creepy. Like, he's just fucking creepy.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
I never, like, felt like I liked the guy, you know.
Yeah.
He's weird, and I just found him weird and kind of unsettling, actually. So I didn't really, like, warm to him.
He is weird.
I thought he was kind of insane, you know, and that his views are insane. And,
they're all insane.
Yeah, no, so basically, so I didn't really, like, you know, I'm like, man, this guy's a sick man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do love it. I think that's part of the humor that's coming through in this film as well with Logan's character, because he's just walking out, sorry, I'm late, I want some food, and he's covered in blood. You know?
Yeah.
Like, the whole film he's covered in blood, like it's nothing.
But even when, like, Rhodes shoots him, I'm like, you know, that's pretty far, but I'm like, you know, maybe he had it coming. I mean, he's feeding fucking brains to, you know, this thing. Like, that's disgusting. So anyway, so I was kind of conflicted. So I didn't really feel much about him. I thought he was weird. And then when he died, because I still felt he was weird, it didn't emotionally hit me that I'm like, oh, this is a terrible thing. But then his point of view is the most vindicated. Like, he did train that fucking zombie. Yeah. So actually he's right. But then it just, like, that doesn't solve anything.
But isn't John right in the end?
In the end, it doesn't matter. Like, in the end, if they had kept going, actually, yeah, they could have domesticated them all. But in the end, none of that matters. Everybody gets overrun. And to me, it just feels like there is a meaning in there.
Yeah.
You know, there is a solution to this problem in there. But at the end of the day, everything they did just didn't matter. So I don't know. So I actually do have a problem with that. I do understand where it's coming from, but I do have a problem with that.
I don't.
You see, I feel like I'm going to be in between you two now. So you two are going to be on opposite sides, and I'll be the go-between, because I just wanted to see any of them get killed, to be honest with you, because, you know... Just, you know, you're on the side of morality, Martin. Boaz, you're on the side of, you know, you have the issues, you know, they're bloody crazy. And I just was looking for the next one to get killed and seeing how they get killed. And I just loved the way they did it.
Well, the film works on that level as well, you know. You can have that if you want that.
It's, yeah, absolutely. So that's where I kind of gravitate to the kills. But so I would say, one, that's my issue, that, like, I reckon it could have ended, hopefully, at least... some way to a solution instead of like everything means nothing. And another thing is, because Logan was I just didn't like him that much, and, you know, and he dies, I feel nothing. I didn't really feel much for any of the deaths, you know, so...
Do you not like Sarah? Were you with Sarah at all?
I didn't like Sarah, actually. Like,
really? Okay.
I don't know, I did not connect with Sarah.
See, I liked Sarah. I liked Sarah quite a lot, to be honest.
I just didn't really connect with her that much. Like, and I don't even think her goal of, like, maybe I think they could have made it more personal of why she wants to cure them. You know, maybe somebody she loved turned into a zombie. Yeah, maybe a zombie was a lover or something.
Or maybe it was like a parent or something, or a close relative, maybe. That would have worked. I understand that.
Yeah, so she has, like, an idealism, but I'm not with her in that ideal scenario or whatever.
Would you say that she's a bit of a Mary Sue of this scenario?
I kind of actually would. You know, I think she's a little Mary Sue-ish, yeah.
I don't think so. I think she's got enough kick-ass in her to not suggest that for me. I guess...
Yeah, but, I mean, a Mary Sue can be kick-ass. It's just, like, a Mary Sue is just always on the right side, always doing the right thing. I think that's what I mean by a Mary Sue.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. But I think with her Mary Sue-isms, she's on the side of Logan, but, like, she wants to go all the way. She wants to turn zombies back to humans, which is a very distant and very, very, very difficult goal to get to, in terms, you know, that would take years. I think Logan says that it would take years or decades to get there, and I think that's a very difficult thing for Logan's character and us to grasp. Of like, that's probably not going to happen. So I get that, but I think throughout, like, she's going from the Logan ideology of like trying to cure things, cure the zombies, to what John's ideology is, and like, nah, just survive, love, just get to this island.
Yeah. So and she's just made that sort of compromise of just like, we'll just live and just sort of forget all this. And so I guess that's kind of a growth. I don't know what to tell you. Like, personally, I just did not resonate with her, and I think to me, I think that's a problem, because she goes through a lot of danger, a lot of trauma, and I'm just not feeling it.
I'm sort of half and half, really.
Did you like Bub?
Oh, Bub, actually, I think Bub was my favorite character.
Bub was good.
Yeah, I thought Bub was great. Actually, I think I would have liked the film more if Bub was the main character. This was like a film about Bub is in captivity. He wants to be free.
Can you imagine?
Because I just felt his body, his acting, and just like his mini arc, and he doesn't say a word. And even I don't care about Logan, when he's like, crying, trying to cry as a zombie, that unsettled me so much that I felt sympathy. I was like, oh my God. And so I felt more sympathy from the zombie being sad at Logan than the death of Logan. So I thought that was very weird.
Well, yeah, I think that's very intentional. That's very intentional that you kind of feel a lot for Bub.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of which is what makes this film really interesting for me as well.
Yeah. I have a strong feeling that Boaz, with his thoughts and feelings with that one there, if he was in charge of Disney right now, or even Netflix, we'd have a streaming series all about Bub, a spin-off.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Bub, the series.
10 movies.
Yeah, Bub, an A. Romero story.
Yeah. Yeah, no, actually, yeah, so that's a weird one. I actually felt more connection from a character level for Bub, and I would have preferred to follow him rather than Sarah or any of the other.
To be honest, they're more empty, aren't they? And like you're trying to think, oh God, it must be like torture, really, because you don't know. Because that's the one thing, actually, that I don't think anyone's really done to this day, or if they have, they've done it badly, I think. But you don't really get many zombie films that are like, you're looking at the zombie and you get something from their perspective, and it's almost like a prison then, because I think, what was it, that really weird film, is it Warm Bodies, I think, based on that terrible book, that film. Never gonna get those hours of my life back, but that one's like the girl wants to get the zombie and wants to bring him back to like the real world so she can have sex with him or whatever. But the point being, it's all teen fan fiction and everything, but you don't really get that sense of claustrophobia, because I feel like if you had a story centered around a character like Bub, I think it would be terrifying. Like, can you imagine like the turmoil? It's a bit like when you get made into a robot or something and you didn't want to be made into a robot. Yeah. Like, you didn't want to be a zombie. I think that would be personally, it would have been good for this film, and it would be good for a film in the future to make a story about a turmoil in a zombie's head of, I feel disgusting. I look horrible. I do not want to look at myself. How do I get out of this?
And I don't want to eat human flesh, but I have this.
But you have this urge to.
I must eat human flesh. Yeah.
I want to read Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
Funny lines, people. I think one recurring one that I like is Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
That's a good one. No, I do like that one. I actually have I found this and I've noted it down here. It's this little section of dialogue. Yeah. I don't know why. I just like the way it plays out. And it's between Rhodes and Logan, and it goes like this. So it's what the fuck is wrong with you people? They're dead. They're fucking dead, and you want to teach them tricks? Then Logan's like, they have to be rewarded, Captain. What else will they do? Why else will they do what we want them to do? And then Rhodes is like, I don't want them to do anything but drop over. And Logan just finishes it off with, yes, well, apparently they're not inclined to do that for you, Captain. I just think it's just such a, it's a great witty sort of interaction between these two opposing men. Like, I think, that's where the script shines.
That's my favourite line.
I like that bit where he was like, they outnumber us 1 to 400,000, by my calculation. What does he say? He says something like, I want to shoot the piss out of them. He's like, you don't have enough ammunition to shoot the piss out of them.
That's the thing. I think we underestimate how witty you can be in a horror film, because personally I think nowadays we're so saturated with like superhero films that are witty. We don't often feel like we can be witty in a horror film. Horror films have to be dark, moody, and serious. But like, you get the likes of it's probably not the best example to bring up, but you get the Zombieland films, which they're comedies with gore and guts and spewing everywhere and bullets, and and this is probably this is the founder of it, really. Like, this is the one thing I do like about it, is the fact that it's got such really memorable dialogue. I mean, admittedly, I've only watched this film once, so I had to write this down, but it is very, I read the dialogue that I've written down and that I remember and I love, and I can just picture it in my head. It's just, it proves that there's some worth in this script, and that it's more than its visuals. I mean, I do still think that it's not the best script in the world, but at the same time, I do think that, there is some real gems in there, like you say, and shoot the piss out of them. That was just great. I love that one.
I do like as well from McDermott, I will continue to indulge myself, and I will continue doing my best in the good fight against dry rot and rust, as he drinks from his flask.
Yeah, that was fun. So I need something kind of explained to me, because I don't know if I fell asleep or whatever, because it's an incredibly important plot point, but I just don't understand it. And that's, why does Miguel open the perimeter?
Well, because I think he's just so mentally out of it. He's like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Like, he's just gone beyond insane kind of thing. Right. He just wants to die, I guess. And he doesn't like Sarah anymore. He's just like, fuck you, Sarah, I don't care.
So he just wants everybody dead.
I think that's why.
Okay. Yeah. I guess that makes sense.
He's lost all hope.
Yeah. And also they blamed him, they've kicked him out of the barracks, and they blame him for that other guy.
He got 2 of them killed.
Yeah. But even he said, like, that wasn't his fault, because it in the first point where he dropped the stick and it almost hit the guy, that was his fault. The second thing, the neck brace just broke off. So that's not his fault.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, I can kind of understand it now, because after the end of the film, I was like, why the fuck did he do that? But that makes sense.
Favorite line, Boaz?
Yeah, probably shoot the piss out of them. It just sounds really cool. Actually,
not choke on them, choke on them.
Yeah, actually, choke on it. Choke on it is definitely my favorite line.
Yeah, from Rhodes.
Yeah, I think it's just it's the most badass thing to say when a zombie is eating your intestines. You're like, choke on it. Or, choke on it!
David, screenplay score for Day of the Dead?
I would say, because of how witty it is, I'd say maybe give it a solid, and there's great morality in there, and the subtext and everything, all that taken into consideration. I'd say maybe an 8.7.
8.7? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. There's room for improvement, and there's like characters that I think could have been developed a bit more, or didn't need as much. But I think an 8.7. I'd say, yeah.
Well, I was thinking a 9.2 or something like that, Boaz.
Fucking hell.
I do like this film.
So
I think it is very clever.
Yeah. So again, my huge criticism is a personal one, I suppose, but that I just didn't feel anything for like any of the characters except maybe Bob.
Okay. Where would you go then, and we'll meet in the middle?
Okay, so now this is going to make you go like shit yourself, but I'd probably go with 7. Just a flat 7.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I'd knock a couple of points because I just don't
really.
And you thought my 8.7 was bad?
Yeah, no, but again, it's just because I just don't care about any of the people dying. So
8.6. Is that in the middle?
No, you said 9, so 9.2. 9.2. So an
8.3 then? 8.4?
I'll give you an 8.2.
Really? Oh my god. This is ridiculous.
Okay, 3. 8.3. I'll give you an 8.3.
Boaz is relentless.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Again, it's one gripe, but it's a major gripe that I have with the film. It's just I don't care about any of them.
Just listen to me, people.
Yeah.
Not bad. Yeah. Right, acting then. I think the acting in this film on the whole is amazing. Like, all the characters are really unhinged in their own way. Like, Steele and Rickles are pretty much acting insane when they're capturing zombies in the mine, in the corral thing. And Steele almost kills Miguel when he drops the pole that has a zombie attached to it that almost gets to Rickles. If Sarah wasn't there, Steele would have killed Miguel for sure. And I loved Anthony DeLeo Jr. Acting, who plays Miguel, when Sarah is trying to give Miguel medicine in a syringe, and he's like, "Stay away from me," and he slaps her, and you're like, "Oh shit, I did not expect that."
Like, hard,
Then immediately regrets it and starts kissing her neck, and I thought that was great from him. And you really get a sense that these guys have been down here for an awfully long time.
Yeah, that was a fine bit of acting. Yeah, I forgot about that. That was a tremendous bit of acting. Yeah.
And I love the acting from Sherman Howard, who plays Bub the zombie. Like, when Logan is experimenting with him with objects, he has to show some knowledge of what these objects are and how to use them, but still be a zombie.
Yeah.
You know, with the shaver, he kind of like taps his face and almost shaves skin off himself. You know, and with the book, he opens it, but he's not really holding it properly, and it's a very fine line of acting like a zombie that's learning.
Absolutely,
and it worked for me quite well with the narrative that this film is trying to tell. You know.
Yeah, I think the acting for Bub is such top notch. Again, because you're saying, like, he's got to look like he's a brain dead, like he's a zombie. He's just a stupid, shambling, meat-eating thing. But then you've got to have that he's intelligent. But it's just such a fine line, because if you make him appear too intelligent, it looks like a parody. You can't imagine a zombie's just picking up a gun and picking up a book. It would just look stupid. But you've got to make him not look so stupid that it doesn't look like he's learning. And he just does it really well. And it's just a body acting thing. It's just, I think you could have had that same scene with anybody else in makeup, and they would have fucked that up like so badly. But he does it really well.
I think one of the most heartbreaking scenes is when Bub finds Logan dead.
I think that's great.
And when he slowly realizes that, it's just like, oh God, you really feel it for Bub there. It's such a great acting moment as well.
And he's not even he doesn't even produce tears. He doesn't scream. He doesn't cry. He doesn't say a word because he's a zombie. But how that's conveyed, of like just this sort of animalistic, like not understanding, and then the realization. And then almost like an animal that's moaning, or do you know what I mean?
Groaning,
raging. Yeah, and you're like, oh my God, this is like eerie. This is like a creature, animal, human. You can sort of get it. You're like, whoa, I can feel this. This is insane. Like, he's trying to convey it, but he can't.
Yeah, it's like what I was saying earlier about how, like, if someone would make a film about the internal anguish of a zombie, of feeling trapped and imprisoned in this body that's clearly not who they are, like that whole like characterization that was given by Bub was literally just spot on. Like, you couldn't get that any other way. Like, I don't think, like you say, Boaz, literally, if you put anyone else in that, it could have been absolutely crap. But it was done, they would have fucked it up so well. Like, I feel like the zombie acting is very, you either go too far with it and you go like really stupid with it, or
which works so well in Shaun of the Dead.
It does work in Shaun of the Dead, but that's for comedy reasons. But then I just think if you, and then you do the other side of things where you're not saying anything with it and you're just being really simple and really like quiet, and like that's eerie in some respects, but then it can come across as a bit like you're not really putting anything into it. So the fact that this is like a nice fine balance, it actually is the perfect example. And that's why, I'd agree personally from the acting standpoint, the zombie acting, perfect. And I think just to follow on onto what I think about the rest of the acting, although I'm not like a fan, I'm not like you, Martin, and very much like Boaz. I'm a little bit on the fence about the script and the story and the characters. I do think, though, that the actors who play these characters, they're very unhinged. They do a good job with what they've been given. So from that standpoint, I think the performances are good and very well rounded and very decent. It's just I'm a little bit like Boaz. I'm sort of on the fence a little bit, but I'm a little bit like it could be more.
Yeah. So my problem is just basically the characters. So but I can't fault the acting for those characters. I just cannot attach to the characters. So.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the film is miscast then?
No, I don't think it's a case of miscast. I think it's characterization. I think that's it. I think it's literally the way I'm feeling is it doesn't matter who you cast as Sarah or cast as some of the other guys. And again, they do bang up jobs. I'm not really complaining. It's just, I just cannot attach myself. There's something missing, you know, I just can't attach myself to them, you know?
Okay.
So I think that's my problem, but I think that's just in the script. But when you're even talking about the script, I think you do a wonderful job and I do commend you. And I agree with you that there is tremendously good
Thank you very much.
Subtext. There's great world building.
Keep going.
Shut up. But I again, just my issue is I just don't feel for the characters. I think,
I mean, do you feel like you wanted more Bub, or was the insanity portrayals from the characters too much?
Because I felt more for the character of Bub and that kind of inner thing he's going through, I just thought is incredibly sympathetic. Like, he doesn't want to be a zombie. He doesn't even understand what the fuck's happening to him. And I reckon the focus should have been on him. Or you make Sarah, her goal a lot more personal. So I think that's what I would have done. Like, her idealism is linked to an actual, like, personal event. And then I think I would have, or like, I know more of her backstory or something like that. Then I think I would have connected with her a little more.
Yeah, I agree on the Sarah point. Like,
yeah, she just feels like a concept. She's an idealist.
Yeah,
and this idealist is going through it, but I don't.
If she had something to anchor her to that movement,
she does. Yeah. I need her to be anchored for a personal reason, and then I think I would have like slipped more into seeing things her way. You know.
Yeah, I think where that tries to go into, which I liked, I guess. I don't think, for me personally, I don't think you need a personal thing going on, but where you're coming from there is like she's attaching herself more to John, where she didn't so much at the start. But I really like Richard Liberty as Logan. I think he does a brilliant, like, mad scientist.
He does an incredible mad scientist. He is fucking out of his mind. You know?
Yeah, there's a bit where he's talking to Rhodes and he's like, yes, they must be rewarded. They must be rewarded. Or something.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that stands out for me as well. Zombie acting, the sort of the crazed, like, deluded nature of them being trapped in this space, but then the mad scientist just sort of cements it all. Like, 'cause I feel like if you didn't have a mad scientist character, I feel like Boaz's like feelings would be even more reinforced. Like, I think we'd be having a different conversation suggesting, oh, this film doesn't really have much going for it, really. It's got, apart from the zombie, but no, the fact that
it's not got any zaniness.
Because I feel like zombie movies, like, you need something zany, because otherwise it's literally just like a fictional, not documentary, but like a fictional non, something that's very dark and gloomy, and like, this is what could happen if you don't listen to your something or others, but because you've got something zany that's anchoring you into this fictional world, it makes it a little bit more comfortable to watch, even though clearly this film is not comfortable to watch when you get the head being torn off so easily. But that's about it, really.
It makes it a little bit more palatable with the humor. He brings some humor into this a little bit.
I think he brings a lot of humor. Yeah, makes it
more watchable and softens the goriness a little bit.
Well, otherwise you're just watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I think I would have tried to make his death a little sadder. I think that's probably what I would have done. I would have, it's pretty dramatic when they shoot him with a machine gun. I think I don't know. They could have done something to make it a little more. Maybe he's begging for his life or something. I don't know. Make it a lot sadder. That's what I would have done.
Fair enough.
I think that's Romero's style, though. When he decides someone's going to die, they're just going to fucking die. He's not going to hang about. He's not going to hang around. Like, you're dying in this scene, in this shot. It's like, oh, no, you don't want another, like, build-up shot? No, you can die.
Yeah, I can imagine him writing the script being like, this character's been around for a bit too long. Nah, he's dying.
Yeah.
He dead.
Blow him away in a really cool, hail of bullets.
I quite liked Rickles' death. Like, it's quite disgusting as well, as we've kind of said before, where they kind of rip his eyelid off and his head, half of his head. But like, he's laughing right up until the moment he dies, though, which I found pretty funny.
Yeah, I thought what was disgusting about that is the pieces of skin from the eye and stuff. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, what's kind of disturbing is like the little bits. If it was just like the whole fucking face or the whole head. But the fact it's a little, oh man, that was nasty. That was really bad. And the fact that he's laughing his ass off, that was a fucking horrible death.
Favorite performance, David? Who are you going for?
Good question. See, I'm not going to say Bub because I do like Bub.
Okay,
but I think Logan.
Okay, Richard Liberty.
Yeah, I like Richard Liberty's.
Yeah, I think he's very entertaining. Yeah.
He's very good. I think he's the one that I anchored myself with through the story. Like him and Rhodes as like a duo. I like them too. That like their interactions were satisfying to me.
Actually, that's true. I love all the times they acted together. In fact, I wish they acted together more. I think they really did.
That's what I would say as well.
Bowers, did you recognise Rhodes, Joseph Polito, in one of your favourite films?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Of all time.
Is he in...
Say what one more time.
Oh,
what?
Wait, who the fuck does he play in that?
He's the one that keeps saying what.
Is he really?
And gets shot.
Holy shit. Okay, that's amazing. No, I didn't know
that's
that.
Rhodes.
I didn't know that. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. Completely different characters.
Yeah. No, he's like, my God, that's insane. Yeah, no, he's completely different. Wow. I think he should play more villains. Is he still alive? He should play loads of villains. I don't know if he has. He did a really good job there.
Favorite performance, Bowers?
I'm actually going to go with... Oh, man. I would either go with Rhodes or Logan. And I love every time they're together. I wish they were together a lot more, actually.
That sounds like a fan fiction ready to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, they escape the zombie apocalypse. You're holding each other's hand off into the sunset. One loves zombies, the other doesn't.
Skipping merrily down the bunker.
Yeah. The original Odd Couple.
Oh,
yes.
With zombie experiments in the background. Following them as children.
Yeah, maybe I'll go with Rhodes to even it out, because you like Logan.
Yeah.
John Polito.
Yeah.
I'm going with Bub. Sherman Howard. I just found him really great.
Yeah.
That balance he found was great.
Like, just the physical acting is tremendous.
Acting score, David? What are you going for acting for Day of the Dead?
I would say, based on what I've already said, that I think they did quite a good job with what they were given. I'd say give it a 9.
Yeah,
9?
Actually, I would go.
Cool.
I would go fairly high with the acting.
Yeah.
Like, on reflection, I do think the cast is actually tremendous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the acting. I think it's really top notch.
Yeah.
Apart from
Jamaican accent. That's just bad.
From John.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. No. When I say 9, the Jamaican accent is not included. That's why it's not 10.
No.
It's the Jamaican accent that brings it above 1.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's such a shame that he puts on an accent, because he's a bloody good actor. And
it's so annoying.
Like towards the end, where he beats up Rhodes and he goes to save them, and you just have this whole and even when he's given that speech, like, I'm not going to fly the helicopter, just let her live, and all this stuff. Don't kill her and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, this is so good.
Just let her live.
Why the fuck did you put an accent on? You're so emotional. Stop talking in that ridiculous fucking accent.
It just kills the mood instantly. Like, just like any credibility you had is just gone.
Yeah. It's so,
it's so frustrating.
It is frustrating, because that was a good scene, and you're like, man, I could feel the emotion, but just drop the fucking accent.
That's why I think I would probably go like an 8.8.
Just because of the accent. Yeah, I think most of the cast actually, apart from that, I think I would agree a 9. Actually, I do think it's probably my favorite part of the movie is the acting. But yeah, okay, 8.8. How about 8.9 or something?
Yeah, okay. I do love this film.
I didn't know. Do you know what? This entire time, I wasn't sure that you'd even watched it. To be honest, it wasn't clear at all.
Yeah. Exactly. I thought you hated it.
I'm not sure I put it across properly.
Yeah, I was getting some really horrible vibes coming through, saying you really can't stand it, and you hate the fact that it's got so much subtext, and like the zombie makeup's just shit.
Yeah.
Right, let's add up the scores then for Day of the Dead. And Day of the Dead gets 52.2.
Ooh,
wow.
Very nice.
So Day of the Dead wins this one, whereas Back to the Future Part 3 gets 48 points. So
That's
fairly
not bad.
tight still.
Is that 5 off?
4.
Yeah. It's not close to 88 this time.
Yeah.
On a different day with a different co-host, it would have been a lot higher. Yeah. Next episode, as Fast X is out, we are talking car films. And hopefully have a guest for that one from What a Character podcast.
I think we should only do Fast and the Furious films. He should pick one. We should pick one.
No.
Just make it a fan.
Instant dismissal.
David, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on our podcast. This is your time again to tell us about Take 97.
Thank you very much then, Martin, and thank you, Baz. Thank you very much for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Honestly, I've never laughed and smiled so hard in my life on a podcast co-host. It's just been absolutely amazing. A bit more about me. So David Ingram, host the Take 97, a film podcast. We just cover all sorts of films, really, on the podcast. I say we, like there's more than me, guests, and everything else in between. You might even see these two appear on an episode in the future. That's a little taster for you, maybe, potentially.
Hope so.
Obviously we release episodes regularly as we can at the Take 97 studio, and we have a new episode out at the moment as of the recording of this episode, all about Return to Oz, the classic that is very, very creepy. Probably not as creepy as the Day of the Dead, but creepy in like the old-fashioned childhood sense. No. That's out episode 84 as of the recording of this episode, but there'll be many more to come, including episode 100, where these guys will not be on it because I'm not on theirs. No, I'm only kidding. But on a serious note, if you want to follow Take 97, we are both on Twitter and Instagram. Instagram's pretty much the home of Take 97 anyway, where most of our polls, pictures, and posts go on to. So we post pictures regularly when our episodes go out of the films that we talk about on there. Be it just me on my own or guests as well with myself. So on Instagram, that is at Take_97 podcast. That's for the Instagram page. And then it's at Take 97 podcast on Twitter, just for link sharing and just connecting with the podcast community. But yeah, we just talk about all sorts of things on there. And I can't wait to get back to another episode soon, potentially with you guys, and even more in the future. So thank you very much for having me on, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I can't wait for the next time, because if this is one thing to go by, my skin might go off, but not in the traditional zombie sense, just because of how much I've smiled. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure so much as well to discuss something that I've loved and also something that I've never seen before. So thank you very much.
That's all right.
No, you're welcome, man. It's been amazing.
Cool. Right, it's time to say goodbye, people. It's goodbye from David. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And it's goodbye from our resident mad scientist, Mr. Encyclopedia Man. No names, Boaz. Goodbye.
See you, man.
And it's goodbye from me. I'm going to discover what my pet zombie bub is, how the book Salem's Lot finishes, because I can't read it myself. So, bye-bye. That's it for part 2. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. Check out part 1 if you haven't done so already. But don't stop there. Get involved and tell us what your favourite films are relating to the episodes. Send us a DM or comment on Instagram and TikTok at Film vs. Film Podcast, for Twitter at FVF_podcast. If you do, we'll give you a shout out on the next episode. If you're feeling really generous, you can buy us a one-off coffee at our Buy Me a Coffee account. Remember, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Pod signing off.